I am now 71, as you all know. By the due date of the next election, and I'm assuming that it will occur at the due time, I would be 72. I couldn't see myself at 72 after, by that time, 17 years of Prime Ministership. I couldn't see myself saying to the people of Australia, I want you to give me another term.
In Canberra, Sir Robert Menzies announces his decision to retire from leadership of the nation.
I went to Government House and told the Governor-General that I was resigning. I produced the document in such English as I could command and advised him to send for Mr. Holt, which, as I know, he did.
Succession to the Prime Ministership for Harold Holt marks the pinnacle of a political career lasting almost as long as Sir Robert's.
This has been a terribly interesting period of time, 16 years plus 6 before that as leader of the opposition. Not easy, and therefore very stimulating. I'm delighted to think that after all these years, I can look around my own country and say this is a strong country, its people are prospering, and if in the slightest degree one can have made a contribution to that, that's very good.
Over a span of decades, Robert Gordon Menzies has maintained prominence in Australia's affairs. Entering the federal arena in 1928, his first notable appointment was that of Attorney General in the Lyons government of 1935. The post-depression years brought with them the challenge of raising a staggering national economy to its feet and setting the future course. Cabinet included the redoubtable Billy Hughes, the country's elder statesman, and one with whom the younger Menzies crossed political swords on more than one occasion. World War II, and as Prime Minister in 1939, Menzies became responsible for initiating Australia's program. Never a stay-at-home leader, he visited Middle East troops, where from General Blamey and his field commanders, he learned of conditions at first hand. Movie-tone pictures show him aboard HMAS Perth. But at home, a political battle resulted in defeat, and in 1941, Menzies resigned. In opposition, he formed the Liberal Country Party coalition, which swept back into power in 1949. Harold Holt and the present Deputy Prime Minister McEwen were members of his cabinet, together with a future Governor-General, R.G. Casey. By 1951, the Prime Minister was becoming more actively involved in Commonwealth affairs abroad. At Britain's famed Biggin Hill, he christened the RAF's then latest jet bomber, the Canberra. A significant choice of name, and one of which Menzies no doubt heartily approved because of its link with the federal capital. At London's Marlborough House, he gained further stature and prominence at Commonwealth Prime Ministers' conferences. Next to Sir Winston Churchill, he became regarded as one of the most eloquent speakers in public affairs. Perhaps partly due to this, he was persuaded to undertake, principally on behalf of Britain, a mission to Cairo to negotiate a solution to the Suez affair. It proved an unhappy brush with Colonel Nasser, and Menzies has, many say unjustly, been saddled with its failure. No doubt one of his most cordial relationships was with Sir Winston Churchill, whose wit he frequently recalls.
Do you remember Winston's famous remark when a member of Parliament who had been elected in the Labour interest decided to join the Liberal Party for some obscure reason, in England, I mean. The old man said, that's the first time I ever heard of a rat swimming towards a sinking ship.
The passing of the grand old man saddened the world. Menzies, as one of the chief mourners, reflected Australia's sense of personal loss. Among his achievements, the Prime Minister, when asked to decide, places one above all others.
I think I would say the ANZUS Treaty, because the ANZUS Treaty has
At Kingsford Smith Airport, a big crowd is all set to welcome President Johnson to Sydney. The start of 4 crowded hours in which the American leader is cheered by more than 1 million people. The Sydney welcome is the biggest of his Australian tour and at times the most boisterous. And at the airport, the crowd is all the way with LBJ. And the city is ready to give President Johnson and Lady Bird the most tumultuous welcome in its history. have been a few anti-Vietnam demonstrations along the route, and now most of the demonstrators have gathered at the Art Gallery, where the President stops for a Commonwealth State reception. When LBJ arrives, the demonstration begins, and police move in quickly. There are 13 arrests, and a lot more are carried off to cool down. And now, 4 hectic hours after his arrival in Sydney, it's time for LBJ to say goodbye. He's received the biggest, noisiest and most spectacular welcome that Sydney's ever given anyone.
Australia changes her currency. Pounds, shillings and pence are out, and dollars and cents are in. Actually, the two currencies will run side by side for 2 years. By that time, all cash registers and other business machines will be converted, and LSD will be a thing of the past. The new notes and coins are different, and their designs caused a lot of favourable comment. C-Day brings a lot of changes. New machines, new prices. The new unit, the dollar, is worth exactly 10 shillings. Perhaps the biggest problem is the one the banks face. Every account must be balanced and then converted to the new currency. There's a last-minute rush before C-Day because the banks close for 2 days to get all the bookwork completed. It's the first time banks have closed their doors on working days since the Depression. But though customers can't get in, the banks are busy. Tens of thousands of accounts are converted from pounds to dollars, and as the changeover gets underway, the old notes are bundled up and earmarked for destruction. These notes will be replaced by dollar notes. The old ones are bundled up, and holes are bored through, £100 worth at a time. Pound notes get the same treatment, and so do fivers. And this is literally money to burn, because when the notes have been defaced, they're sent to Victoria, where they're put in a furnace. Money going up in smoke. But don't worry, there are new crisp notes to replace the old ones, and at the note printing branch, they're being turned out by the million. There'll be $1, $2, $10 and $20 notes. If only a man could get enough of them. It's a big change, replacing currency which has been used since 1910. Australia drops the pound and goes for dollars. February 14, a notable day in Australia's history. Australian soldiers first fought overseas in the Sudan War in 1882, and 6 of them were killed. Then at the turn of the century, it was the Boer War. 518 lost their lives. In World War I, more than 50,000 Australians died, nearly 8,000 of them at Gallipoli. Australians went overseas again in World War II to Greece and Crete, the Western Desert, to Malaya and New Guinea. 27,000 did not return. And now Australians are fighting close to home in South Vietnam as Australia meets her treaty obligations. But there are some who believe Australia should not be there. And as these demonstrators marched in Martin Place, we asked them why they were marching.
2, 3, 4, we don't want war. 5, 6, 7, 8, stop the war negotiated. Hands off Vietnam!
Greek for me, not understand.
Why are you here?
No Vietnam. No good. Come here, Australia.
Why am I marching? Because against send the troops to South Vietnam.
Say because I'm opposed to the war in Vietnam.
Because I'm against the thing.
Why? Because I don't believe in war, full stop.
I'm marching because I'm against the decision of the government to send more troops to Vietnam.
Why am I marching? Because I don't believe in conscription or the war in Vietnam.
And I believe in Vietnam more, but not in conscriptions being sent there.
Because I have 4 sons and I don't want to see them conscripted to Vietnam.
A lot of damn fools. If the Vietnamese got here, they'd be the first to scream.
When obstruction blocks my way, I walk down that narrow way till I can see the light of day shining at the world. And I realize that something here sure is wrong. The songs that I throw will free all man, make him walk proud through this righteous land. He will know which way to go. I will show him by the stones that I throw. Don't put walls and barricades, so a man can't have his say. And barking dogs can't block my way from taking my brother's hand. And something makes me want to stand up and do what's right. The stones that I throw will free all man, make him walk proud through this righteous land. He will know which way to go. I will show him by the stones that I throw. The stones that I throw will free all man, make him walk proud through this righteous land. He will know which way to go. I will show him by the stones that I throw.
Normie Rowe, 19 years old and now at the top of the Australian pop scene. He earns up to $4,000 for one appearance, and now he's off to London to try the big time there. The former PMG employee had immediate hits with his first records, and now his discs are always well up on the charts. Remember this one? At Chequers, Sydney, there's one of the most unusual fashion shows ever. It's a display of Mary Quant's famous Ginger Group. And with the theme of fashion comes to life, the whole show is a go-go with 6 models in a non-stop display. Watched by more than 300 retailers from all eastern states, the models and young dancer Ross Coleman go to town. It's like method school acting set to music. There There are corduroys, terraline and wool, bonded jersey and woven wools. There are dresses, slacks, jackets, pantsuits and skivvies. More than 60 outfits from the Quant collection, presented in a manner that leaves the spectators and the models breathless. Mary Quant's Ginger Group comes to Australia, a fashion show that includes everything from modern dancing to motor scooters. It's a fashion show with a real difference. It's go-go time at Sydney's newest discotheque. Well, it was the newest, but they're springing up so fast it's hard to tell. Anyway, this one's Tony Murphy's. And if you have the strength, you can go until you drop. Incidentally, that's a great way to lose weight. Remember the Charleston mum? It's a big night tonight, and among the distinguished citizens gracing the place with their presence are Batman and Robin. Tony Murphy gives them the glad hand at the door, but Batman doesn't intend to waste any time. He's a real go-go guy. Batman and Robin have a night out at Sydney's newest discotheque.
Everyone's heard the phrase about the female form divine, but at the final judging in the Mr. Australia Quest of 1966, the ripples, contours and bulges are completely rearranged, thus presenting the fair sex with a dominant interest in proceedings. Vic Bella was Mr. Australia in 1960 and muscled into 4th place in the Mr. Universe contest of 1963. Italian-born Mr. Carlo Zumbo flexes and reflexes for the judges. Strangely, there are only 12 contenders for the title, which doesn't say much for our He-Man image. Ah, well, who wants an automated belly button anyway? Taking out a special award as the most muscled man is Frank Reeves. And right there in the center, Mr. Australia 1966, Carlo Zumbo, Baron of the Bulging Bicep.
Love a duck, mate. It'll be marching Grandad's next. But these grannies from Drummoyne aren't a bad lot of Sheilas, are they?
It's Nino Colata himself, Italian film star Walter Chiari, arriving in Sydney for the world premiere of They're a Weird Mob. Chiari plays Nino in the film, and the critics have acclaimed his performance. At Mascot Airport, Chiari meets John O'Grady, who wrote the book under the pen name of Nino Colata. The film, in colour, tells of Nino's life as a builder's labourer and the weird mob of Australians he meets. In the film, Nino arrives aboard the liner Marconi, and now Walter Chiari's back in Sydney, he attends a dinner on board with other members of the cast to meet finalists in the Sun Weird Mob contest. There's Ed Devereaux, who plays Joe the Builder. It's quite a party, a get-together of the stars of Australia's most ambitious film. And Now at the State Theatre, the world premiere. It's a miserable, wet night, but that doesn't stop a big crowd gathering, and the red carpet is rolled out for the stars and distinguished guests. Sir Norman Ridge is among community leaders who attend. Barry Creighton, who plays in the film. Ed Devereaux, who's praised by the critics for his performance. Car after car arrives. John O'Grady, no doubt anxious to see how his book is transferred to the screen. Melbourne TV personality Graham Kennedy, who has a guest spot in the film. The premiere is in aid of the Royal Life-Saving Society of Australia. Claire Dunn, who plays the female lead, and Walter Chiari himself. Now the stage is set and the premiere begins. A glittering world premiere for an Australian comedy, the film everyone's been waiting to see, They're a Weird Mob. At Toowong in Brisbane, there's a bird with a problem. Soda, the cockatoo, has pulled out all his feathers. So with winter on the way, Mrs. Corness and daughter Bridie knitted him a new suit. Soda developed a diet deficiency, and that's why he plucked his feathers out. In fact, he's wrecked just about anything he can get his beak on. But not the knitwear. He just loves it. Although he's a sulphur-crested cockatoo, Soda's now a bird of a different colour. He's green, yellow, and red. And he has a spare outfit so he doesn't get cold while the other's in the wash. There you are, my fine unfeathered friend. It's winter woolies for a bird with just too much pluck. Crikey, what a galah! The Cruising Yacht Club Sydney, work is well underway on entrance for the Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. It's announced that 49 yachts will take part, 2 of them American, 6 from New Zealand, and 11 from states outside New South Wales. Competing for the trophies will be yachts ranging in size from a 66-foot Californian cutter to a 29-foot Sydney sloop. Club Secretary Mr. Davey expects a close race in the 640-mile Ocean Classic. Australia's blue water yachts getting ready for this year's Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race.
Kaima, Sydney, it's the final day of the World Bowls Championship and the players are just as excited as the crowd. The Scottish team does its own Highland fling. Who'd ever thought bowls could have so much action in it? Highlight of the final day is the singles title with Englishman David Bryant keeping his world crown. Well, how could anyone beat that? In his final match, Bryant meets South African Snowy Walker. Walker was behind early but recovered to go down 21-18. It's an exciting finish in a game between two masters. Bryant has lost only one match in the entire tournament. The trophies are presented by Chief Justice Sir Leslie Heron. The Australian team, winners of the pairs and triples, wins the Leonard Trophy for overall performances. This trophy was presented by Mr. W.M. Leonard, Managing Director of Ampol. Australia, top country in the world.
35,000 people line the banks of the Nepean for the annual GPS Head of the River. The excitement's gone to her head. Special police squads are on duty to prevent incidents, but they later reported it was the quietest day on record. The start's delayed 20 minutes by a stiff northeasterly wind, but conditions are good when the crews get underway. Newington gets a slight advantage soon after the start, but in the first half mile, there's not much between first and last. Past halfway, Newington and Scots are ahead, with Shaw and Grammer close up and the other crews beginning to struggle. The last quarter mile and Newington is still leading. Scots is challenging strongly, but the Newington crew raises its stroke rate from 33 to 38 and holds a lead of only 3 feet. Shaw and Grammer are beaten. It's Newington in front, Scots trying hard, but Newington's won the Head of the River. It's the closest race in years. Newington by 3 feet, with Scott second, and Shaw and Grammer dead heating for third just behind them. Newington, the favourites, win a thrilling Head of the River. But there have been years of sadness as well as joyful welcomes. Mr. Harold Holt was sworn in as Prime Minister in succession to Sir Robert Menzies. The following November, his government was re-elected with the biggest majority ever in Australia. And a year later, at Cheviot Beach in Victoria, skin divers searched for his body with no avail. Mr. Holt had gone for a swim and was never to be seen again. The search continued above and below the water. Helicopters, skin divers, police and army men. But the Prime Minister was lost. Distinguished visitors arrived from all parts of the world to pay tribute at his funeral. Prince Charles flew in from London to represent the Queen and the royal family. British Prime Minister Harold Wilson came with him. And at St. Paul's Cathedral, Melbourne, the leaders of many nations gathered to honour Harold Holt. Mrs. Holt, later to become Dame Zara, led the members of the late Prime Minister's family into the service. Sir Robert Menzies was there, and the opposition leader, Mr. Whitlam. President Johnson had flown in from the United States, and every Asian nation was represented by its president or Prime Minister. What an extraordinary tribute it was to a man who'd been Prime Minister of Australia for such a short time. But Harold Holt had visited many countries and had made a particular impact by stressing Australia's role in Asia. And so the Asian nations, as well as some from Europe and the Americas, came to Melbourne to pay their final homage. The death of a Prime Minister, a sad loss to Australia in a decade which has seen many changes.
this year is shadowed by the tragic death of the Prime Minister, Mr. Harold Holt. For me, it is a personal loss, as well as the loss of a distinguished servant of the public. I had met him many times during his long ministerial service, and as Prime Minister, I had come to know him well and to look forward to our meetings when he came to London. In a short space of time, as Prime Minister, many people round the world had responded to his forceful personality, and through him were able to gauge many Australian characteristics. We admired especially his great capacities and warmed to his friendliness. Such a tragedy seems particularly cruel only a few days before Christmas, and my deepest sympathy goes out to his wife and family. I pray that God will comfort them. My Christmas message to the Commonwealth had, of course, been recorded before the terrible news of Mr. Holt's disappearance. But at a time when all Australians must feel that this festive season has been clouded by sorrow, I want you to know that I and all my family are sharing in your grief.
I bring with me to all the people of Australia the sympathy of my countrymen who wish you to know that your loss is not a loss that you bear alone. The gathering together here in Australia of leaders from north and east and west tells much of the kind of man that Harold Holt was, of the kind of leadership that he brought so freshly and so forcefully to the community of free nations, and of the kind of world that he was helping to shape. He was steady. He was courageous. Indeed, as in word, he embodied the resoluteness of the people that he led. He was there when he said he would be there. He did not move across the stage of world affairs seeking a way out or a way back from difficult and demanding duties. Harold Holt moved among us, seeking to find and to open the way ahead toward a saner and a safer world.
It is an historic day. The Prince of Wales is here, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, the President of the United States, and the leaders of Asian nations. They arrive at Government House in a solemn procession, and they have come to pay tribute to the former Prime Minister, Mr. Harold Holt, to the ideals for which he stood, and to Australia itself. Never before has Australia seen so many world leaders gathered. Never before has Australia been so much in the world spotlight. The arrivals are being televised live throughout the world. The death of the Prime Minister was a sudden shock, but today Australians realise just what he had done for them in his short 20 months in office. Princes and presidents, prime ministers and premiers, they're all here to pay homage. For Australia, it is a day of history as well as a day of mourning. From Europe and Asia, from the United States, and from countries throughout the free world, they come to pay a final tribute to a world leader. Harold Holt is dead, but his memory lives, and so do the things for which he stood, the policies in which he believed, the principles for which he fought. It is a somber day, a sad day, and yet a day of rejoicing. For though his life was all too short, he had lived it to the full. And today, as the leaders of the world file into St. Paul's Cathedral in Melbourne, we remember him with pride. Harold Edward Holt, a great man and a great Prime Minister.
We are gathered here today to remember before Almighty God our late Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Harold Edward Holt, Companion of Honour, Bachelor of Law, Privy Councillor, to thank God for his life and work, and to commend him into the keeping of our Heavenly Father, praying that he will shed forth upon him the fullness of his mercy, light and peace. And also to pray for his sorrowing widow and family, as well as for our whole nation and the world, which is so much the poorer for his departure from us.